ending 5-4, while not ideal, I'm sure would be much better than ending with a negative record. So we will be jumping into draft. I'm curious as to what approach both teams will take. We've been seeing a couple of shifts in priority on 10-13 Medic.
Yeah, it's very interesting to see, Aphelios falling just a little bit down in terms of the meta. We've seen Syndra get through a little bit more as well, which I'm intrigued by just because of how powerful she is as a pick. And of course, Yuumi has fallen off the face of a cliff, and thankfully that has happened. I mean, we've still seen her a couple of times, but I'm very happy that the cat is, as Rekkles said in the intro we did yesterday, very much back in the bag. But we'll see what these two teams decide to go towards, whether that Kalista will get through, or whether we'll see Fnatic go towards something like the Urgot that they picked up yesterday. Thresh will be the first ban from Fnatic, and Schalke will get rid of the Varus once again.
Okay, so nothing too unconventional for the time being. Things that also need to be taken into consideration are Azir bans, very popular right now. Twisted Fate ban, very common against the likes of Fnatic, and I think that Nemesis had a very solid Twisted Fate yesterday. The Trundle ban is also something that we've been seeing a lot, so nothing too crazy, nothing too targeted to either team just yet. And, just as we saw, the Twisted Fate, I don't think is too surprising to anyone's understanding of how Fnatic like to approach the game, along with how common TF is in the meta right now. Other things are, is Aphelios worth banning? Is Kalista worth banning? Is she even on the priority list? Something that we often see from Fnatic is the Kalista ban, but maybe they're not afraid of it from the side of Schalke, and it looks like that with the Azir ban, they're not going to be too stressed about that.
I mean, we've already had Mad Lions, the split, say they leave Varus open against teams they don't think can play Varus very well. So maybe the Kalista is being left open by Fnatic here because they're like, well, we don't really think Neon and Dreams have the strongest bottom lane that could challenge us. Syndra is available. Expect that to be locked in here for Fnatic if they keep going the way they have in the past. And we'll see what Schalke decide to answer with.
Yeah, we literally saw Rekkles' Syndra yesterday, I think, carry the game. It was his stun onto Crown Shot that ultimately turned the game around for Fnatic. So Fnatic more than happy to flex this between both the AD carry and mid lane role. With the Ezreal already locked in, this gives Fnatic a lot of options and room to play with, because I think the Syndra can quite easily play into the Ezreal, but you don't want to lock in your AD carry now. I think that for Fnatic, they should just look to pick a counter jungler and then grab their support. I think Nautilus is really good here because with Ezreal, we often see Yuumi being paired with it. Even after the nerfs, some pros have said that Yuumi is still viable. And by locking in the Nautilus, even if they decide to go for a Yuumi, it's a pretty good matchup. And if they don't, then hey-ho, Nautilus is just a very solid blind pick overall.
Yeah, it just gives you really good lockdown potential in the bottom lane as well, because you've got the Scatter the Weak into the Dredge line, or Dredge line into Scatter the Weak. You've got the knockup coming out from Rek'Sai. Blue side Rek'Sai is so good at ganking bot lane as well, so expect to see Fnatic put some time down towards the bottom lane, and there is the Nautilus as you predicted. Schalke lock in their Hylissang once again for Gilius. He had a really good first 20 minutes yesterday, and then a couple of small blunders, well, quite large blunders, ended up costing Schalke what could have been their first win of the split.
For sure, and I'm sure the pressure is on him, but he's clearly still feeling confident with his comfort picks, and he's going to lock that one in for himself. So we'll see how he does today. Is Schalke actually respond with a Leona? This is something that we often see as an answer to Nautilus. I think that it can be quite good, but I'm often surprised when it's paired with something like an Ezreal. I think it can be quite a strong 2v2 lane, and if the Syndra goes bot, then I can see a world with, because of her low mobility, you can actually force an all-in in that 2 versus 2. But it depends where the Syndra actually goes and the direction that the draft is taking it. I would rather put the Syndra in the mid lane right now and then put Rekkles on something else. I was thinking something like the Kalista might be good here. You do want to be a little bit careful playing Kalista against the Leona. Maybe they want something with a little bit more mobility. Of course, Aphelios is still open as well. So if they want something a little bit more scaling, that's also another option for Fnatic.
Yeah, I worry a little bit about Kalista just because you have Hylissang with the Tempest Cripple, which is an attack speed slow. You've got the Iceborne Gauntlet build from Ezreal, which also slows your movement speed, so then slows Kalista's attack speed as the game goes on. I think there are a few avenues that Schalke could lock down a Kalista pretty easily in here, but I'd love to see Rekkles bring it out. We've talked a lot about Fnatic not playing the Kalista or even banning the Kalista themselves. It would be great to see them pick up that champion and show exactly what Rekkles can do on it. For now, though, we're going to keep on with the mid lane bans. Cassio getting taken away, Orianna removed as well. The Gangplank taken out of top lane, and we'll see where Fnatic go with their final ban of the second phase. It's going to be LeBlanc, so we're falling down to that second tier of mid laners. I wonder if we'll see Abbedagge go for something like the Galio, could just try and work out well with this team, or even the Corki, who is just a very strong mid laner in general.
I think that this is heavily suggesting that Fnatic want to put the Syndra in mid. So Schalke's response is, okay, we want to heavily mitigate the amount of threat that this Syndra can put in the mid lane. I think that because of the natural magic resistance and tankiness against mages that Galio does have, I think that it can be a pretty strong answer. Some cheeky hovers coming out from Rekkles right now with the Vayne and the Hylissang. I think both could be quite good here, depending on what direction they want to go for.
Soraka is still open, Vedius. That's all I'm going to say.
That's true. I don't like that, though. I think
Infinity Edge Rek'Sai, we've seen Selfmade do it before. You could carry once again. It is going to be the Kai'Sa, though. It's going to be the Kai'Sa. So that's going to be a strong bot lane here for Fnatic. It is the Syndra in the mid lane, as you said, Vedius. And we'll see what Fnatic want to put in the top lane. It's going to be blind pick here for Bwipo. There are some of the more powerful blind picks available, like the Aatrox, but he is going to resort to what he picked up yesterday, and that is the Urgot.
So I do think that Urgot is a little underappreciated with how strong he actually is. I wonder how much the Death Dance nerfs affected him. But I'm also often questioning, like, I'm pretty sure that Urgot is considered a ranged champion, but he's on that weird boundary where his range is so short that he's almost a melee champion.
If Thresh is ranged, Urgot is ranged.
Yeah, exactly, that's what I'm thinking. Yeah. So the Death Dance, I thought actually made him really strong before, but now with the slight nerfs to Death Dance, I do think that Urgot is a little bit weaker. But even saying that, Death Dance just naturally has like all the stats and everything that an Urgot would want.
Yeah.
And I was surprised that we didn't see more of it. But I also think that the Wukong is a good answer. And what I was going to say was Schalke's comp lacks a little bit of damage for me right now. So I think that the Wukong is actually a pretty solid answer, not only in terms of the matchup, because you can stack that armor thanks to his passive, but also it adds that additional bit of damage and dive onto the Syndra. Yeah, and I think that when you pair that with a Galio as well, you have a lot of backline threat, and then Neon is largely just going to be peeling for himself. And when you look at Leona, Galio, Wukong, very strong front-to-back teamfight comp with a lot of dive aspects, but then Rekkles has dive tools of his own. So I think these teamfights are going to be pretty interesting, Medic, and I think a lot of this is going to come down to who can get their laners ahead in the early game. Junglers is what I think the focus should be as we're jumping into game 1.
Oh, make sure to keep our eyes on Gilius and Selfmade. Selfmade was in the discussion for the middle of the split MVP vote. I lost it out to Kai'Sa, but he is having a stonker of a performance so far for Fnatic. And if he wasn't playing as well as he is, I think Fnatic would be sitting a lot further down at the standings. For now, though, they have an exactly 50% win rate, and they could tie themselves up at tied 4th spot after this game if they manage to take the win.
Yeah, and engage from Dreams. The rest of Schalke looking for the pick.
Hylissang's going to take a little bit of damage as he tries to get away, but Gilius chases him down and gets first blood. And Hylissang, well, flipped a coin and ended up tails for the first play of the day.
Yeah, so interesting level 1 coming out from Schalke. They're able to find that pick onto Hylissang, and the fact that they're able to get that flash out is really good for the 2v2 in the bot lane. Means that Schalke could look for a return gank towards the bot side. Let's keep an eye on where Gilius decides to start. Notice that Fnatic did drop a ward on Gilius's red buff, so they can get a little bit more information as to where he is starting after seeing him not path that way. They're going to get information that, okay, he's likely on his bot side, so we'll have to see what direction he goes. I really want to see him look for another gank at the bot side of the map, try and get Neon and Dreams rolling in this early game.
Hylissang not having flash in this lane, and he's going to be at an experience disadvantage because you have the extra experience from the assist for Neon and Dreams. That level 2 for the Schalke bot lane could be absolutely devastating. Hylissang's going to have to play really safe, make sure he doesn't step too far up in the lane, or at least be able to hook himself out of danger if Dreams decides to go for the engage, because in about 4 minions time, about 5 minions time, Neon and Dreams should look to go all in.
Yeah, they certainly should. We can see that right now Gilius is moving over towards his Gromp. Looks like he could do a full bot side clear and then look for an early gank, but I do think that you want to try and grab that red buff on the Lee Sin because it does set you up for a little bit of extra damage, gives you that extra bit of utility as well. Selfmade doing a similar path as he's looking to do a full clear on his top side. But notice the Abbedagge looking for a bit of a cheeky row, just getting a bit of early information there as he gets that early prio in the mid 1 versus 1.
I think we saw Abbedagge do this yesterday as well, trying to just get around the map as much as he could early on. I believe he went for a top lane dive, but not going to be able to get anything for now. We didn't see the all-in level 2 from Neon and Dreams in the bottom lane. They have played a little bit more defensive, a little bit more on the back foot. But for the moment, they should be fine. It's about a 600 gold lead, though, early on here for Schalke, and signs of life from them once again. Perhaps they will not end the split, the halfway mark of the split 0-9.
We're 3 minutes into the game, Fnatic. We're 3 minutes in. I like your optimism, though. I like it.
It's not often they have hope, okay? The Schalke fans in the audience, they cling to every little bit. It's like they're coming up to you and they're being like, please, some hope, Vedius. Please give it to me. If it's only 3 minutes in the game, you give them that hope. You offer it to them, okay?
Well, yeah.
Gobble it right up.
Well, Hylissang goes to the engage.
Yeah, Hylissang still has his Ignite here in the bottom lane, so it's just that little bit stronger in if he manages to get the engage off, and with the Aftershock, he's able to absorb any damage from the Schalke bottom lane. And here comes Selfmade looking for a level 4 dive. Talks about how strong Rek'Sai can be on the blue side. Well, Neon Dreams need to get out of here. Neon's going to jump away with the Arcane Shift to stun onto Hylissang. Neon has splashed away, but Selfmade's on the chase, and Rekkles is flashing forward as well. Goodbye, Neon. And perhaps Dreams has overstepped here. He's going to be ignited. And Fnatic do not have the minions at the turret yet. Now they arrive, and here come the oncoming storm. Selfmade. Well, okay, Hylissang's dead. Okay, okay. Oh my god.
So, that was not great from Hylissang.
That was awful!
What started off as a really good dive from Fnatic ended up being a 1-for-1. Now, Gilius looking for a gang mid.
Yeah, Nemesis is going to try and get away here. Does still have the flash, but the flash dawn comes out from Abbedagge. Oh, he put the Winds of War in the wrong place! Oh, it's a great play from Nemesis to get away, but Abbedagge just needs to move the Winds of War a little bit closer to the tower, and he would have got the kill.
Whew. Okay, so we've got a bit of early action happening as Hylissang roams up. Let's jump into the replay and have a look back at this dive. So it starts off pretty promising from the side of Fnatic because they notice that Neon is split away from Dreams, and so they just hard commit to the play. The red buff plus the flash commits from Rekkles and Selfmade allow them to lock down Neon, and they're looking at Dreams saying, okay, we can get ourselves another kill. But notice the state of the minion wave and how Dreams actually does his best to try and clear the ways out. He uses the minion dematerializer there so that Selfmade takes the initial aggro, and then Hylissang's like, uh-oh, I don't have my flash, I'm stuck underneath the tower. So actually, no, I'm actually going to give that to Dreams, dude. I think that was a sick play from Dreams.
That is good play from Dreams, but remember last week when Hylissang on Tom Kench tongue-lashed underneath the bot lane tower, died, and then Rekkles died as well. Like, at some point, you got to learn your lesson. And when you see the enemy support trying to clear out the minions, maybe you think to yourself, okay, I could just path around here. We'll give the credit streams. We'll give the credit streams, as you say, Schalke.
I mean, it's always a toss-up, right? Like, how much of that was a failure on Hylissang versus a pro from Dreams. Yeah. And for me, I felt like Dreams played that like as well as he could, and he was rewarded for it. But at the same time, like, man, we can both agree, Hylissang definitely he fudged up there. He fudged up.
He fudged up.
Now the Drake is going to be started off by Selfmade. This is an early Infernal, which is always a valuable Drake to have. And because they have Prio in the mid lane as well, Nemesis is going to be able to come down, and I think that Schalke are just going to concede this one. I still want to reinforce that I'd really like to see Schalke play a little bit more around the bot side of the map. There's no summoner spells on Rekkles right now, and I think that Ezreal can be pretty powerful in the early game. I mean, of course, he is going for the culls, so maybe they're a little afraid, but I felt like that they had opportunities in the early game to actually try and snowball this lane a little bit harder. And I would like to see them attempt to try and take advantage of this lack of summoner spells. But Gilius is top lane right now. He's got his eyes on Bwipo.
Yeah, Bwipo's going to be forced off just a little bit here. He'll lose a few minions to the wave, but Gilius isn't 6 yet, so Bwipo knows that he's not too threatening. Abbedagge was pushed back in the mid lane by Nemesis, who pushed the wave in, so it meant that they knew that Hero's entrance wasn't coming in as well, so Bwipo can just get back up towards this lane, and it's Selfmade who is playing around the bottom lane right now. Did walk over a ward, but that was controlled, so it hasn't spotted him out. And instead of going for the dive, I think they're just going to go for the Scuttle Crab. Tremor Sense giving Selfmade a lot of information as to where Schalke are.
So while all this action has been going on in the mid lane and the bot lane, we've also got to turn our attention to the top side of... Actually, we might not, because there could be a bit of a scramble over this blue buff, as Selfmade did just hit level 6, but he will just back away from that one. Schalke walk away with the blue, so they're quite comfortable. And the reason why I want to bring attention to the top side of the map is because Odoamne has actually built up a bit of an advantage in this 1 versus 1. You can see that one of the things that made Wukong such a powerful laner coming into this summer season was that you get so much armor passively.
Yeah.
And against many AD matchups, and even like champions that would typically bully you and harass you, he actually does very well. So in the example of Urgot, a champion that can actually trade very effectively in the early game, especially against melee champions, because you have that bit of a range advantage. I think that Wukong can have a bit of an advantage and actually bully him around, which we've been seeing so far in this matchup. So as long as Odoamne is left to his own devices, I think this sets up Schalke nicely for the mid game, where once he completes something like the Trinity Force, or depending on what itemization choice, because sometimes we see things like Tiamat, sometimes we see on hit with the Blade of the Ruin King plus Black Cleaver, so we'll see what direction he goes. But I think that it sets them up nicely for a strong mid game where you could have a double Trinity Force power spike for Schalke on the Ezreal and on the Wukong.
I think it will be really interesting to see how Schalke make Fnatic fight them around that point, because obviously that's like they're going to be very powerful, as you say, towards that double Trinity Force power point. But because Fnatic have the first dragon of the game, Schalke can't force an early soul. Fnatic can just play on the back foot. They've got relatively good wave clear. They have okay people in the side lane, so like an Urgot can match into a Wukong, even if he loses out purely in the 1v1. He can just stand beneath the tower and farm up, and it's very difficult to dive him. So Fnatic, I feel, if they can get towards the mid game, if they can survive that 2-item, 3-item power point from Schalke, should be in a really good position in this game. And that early dragon has helped them mitigate some of the ability of Schalke to find a lead.
Yeah, I think scaling is an interesting one when looking at both these comps, but you kind of inherently have to give it to Fnatic because the amount of damage they have in the late game, I think, is so strong. With Kai'Sa, she is just such a potent late game threat with the amount of like burst, damage, mobility that she has. And then Syndra, notice in her build, she's actually going for what looks to me like a Seraph's. Which I think actually makes sense. It's not something you typically see. We often see things like the Luden's Echo, but with the Phase Rush plus Seraphs, I think that's to mitigate a lot of the dive that is coming out from the side of Schalke. So as long as Nemesis is free to stack that up and, you know, survive a lot of these ganks, which so far he's been doing a great job of, I think that he's going to be much harder to kill than you typically would of your traditional Syndra.
Oh, Selfmade actually flashes away from this early. Perhaps wondering if the hero's entrance would come in there. Dream's going to have the flank position here on Hylissang, who's looking for the dive on Neon. Dream's worked his way all the way around, but doesn't have the level 6 yet. Hylissang, there's a couple of minions left. Okay, just making sure he gets out of tower range before those minions fall, Bedios. He will manage to get away. If Dreams had been 6, perhaps it would have been a stickier situation for Hylissang, but gets back underneath the tower. Gilius and Odoamne are going to use the pressure they gain topside to get themselves a Rift Herald. And there's a minute on the dragon, so if they can get this and then try and get down towards that dragon, they can start that clock ticking. However, Fnatic are having none of it. Gilius gets the smite, but Odo and Gilius are going to try and get out of this one, because Bwipo's forcing them off the Eye of the Herald. Yet haven't picked it up.
Are they actually going to get it?
I don't think so. I mean, it dissipates quite rapidly now. It's like 40 seconds, I want to say. So, yeah.
I think it's actually less than that now. Either way, that's gone.
Yep. Sucked back into the rift.
Well, that's really unfortunate for Schalke, because I think that, as you already said, they used their pressure really well. And getting that objective, I think, is really important to breaking the mid tier 1, because Syndra wave clear can be really potent. And I think that when you look at Schalke's comp, it's relatively short range, outside of only the Ezreal, which means that sieging could be a bit of a problem for them. And being able to take those turret plates mid, get a little bit more gold into the Galio, actually threaten the Syndra, I think was going to be really valuable. So the fact that Fnatic was able to deny that is a pretty big deal. Now Fnatic are actually on the second Drake, and I think it's really important that Schalke look to contest this.
I don't think you can, because Neon just backed. I think it's too risky to go for it. I agree with you that it would have been good for them to contest it, but because of Neon's back timing, he wanted to get back and complete his Mana Moon because he didn't get a tier on his first back, so he hasn't been stacking up and wants to get that stacking as soon as possible.
Okay.
So it was just poor back timing from Schalke.
So, Medic and I, Ender and I, yesterday were actually talking a lot about Drakes and how we think that they've actually made things like split push comps a lot harder to play, because the thing about split push comps is you kind of sacrifice objectives to side lane pressure. How am I not have time? This kid is looking for a play.
Gets the kick on to Nemesis. The solar play comes down, and goodbye Syndra. Selfmade now on the front line has the Void Rush. Here comes the depth charge from Hylissang, but the hero's entrance might keep Gilius alive. It does. Void Rush wasn't used. TP comes in. As now Hylissang is in a world of hurt. Goes in 0-3-0 now on the Nautilus. Feeling a bit sorry for him. The scoreline is not doing him any favors, and Neon's going to have some time in the bottom lane to get himself some plates.
So I wasn't expecting a fight to just happen in mid lane, I'll be honest, Medic. Typically we see a lot of fights around Drakes, around Herald.
Yeah.
I mean, like, does it result in an objective? No, but like, think about the grand scheme of things. You get an additional 2 kills, right, in favor of Schalke. You alleviate some of the map pressure. Neon is going to get some more gold plays into his back pocket, while Odoamne did lose his TP. Again, like, you want to talk about hope for Schalke, that's pretty hopeful. Yeah. Like, you saw how that fight went at this point in the game. It was pretty favorable for Schalke, even though Fnatic, I think, actually responded almost immediately. But you also get to see, like, the power of this dive from Schalke if Gilius can get a good flank when Odoamne actually gets involved. And that's what I'm saying, when they hit this Trinity Force spike, Schalke's ability to fight, I think, will be really potent. So this kind of then loops back into the original points that I was saying about how giving up these first 2 Drakes I thought might be bad for Schalke, but it's actually not that bad. Because once they hit their spikes, that's when they can start fighting for these Cloud Drakes. That's when they can start contesting these souls. And I think that by conceding the first 2, allowing Fnatic just to have that control, you don't actually put yourself in any dangerous situations, and you're not taking any gambles. So we're now just waiting for those item spikes to come in, and then I want to see Schalke getting more proactive on the map.
You see Gilius having a pretty stellar performance so far this game. Second most gold in the game, just about 15 behind Rekkles, who's been farming up on this Kai'Sa, has 120 CS, about 10 CS lead over Neon right now. And I think he's being donated, yeah, he's got about 2 plates in the bottom lane as well, which is where some of that extra gold will be coming from. But now we'll see how Fnatic can hold on to the game right now, because as we said, you know, they've got these 2 dragons, they're slightly behind in gold, they're not in the hole yet, but Ender said it on the analyst desk, like, anything but a dominant win from Fnatic will be a little bit disappointing to their fans. I will say, I think they've been very fortunate in the league this split, because other teams aren't playing that well either. Like, they are very fortunate that 5 and 4 puts you in contention for top 3, or even top 2. Right now, because in any other split you'd be like, well, maybe I get 6th place. And right now, because of how close the LEC is and how everyone is beating everyone, Fnatic still have a chance of making it, you know, high up by the end of the regular season.
Yep, and Schalke, they haven't given up yet. As we mentioned, this game is still very close right now. Schalke posturing around the bot tower to try and defend it, but Fnatic have the numbers advantage. They've brought Nemesis down from mid lane, and this will be the first tower of the game going in favor of Fnatic. They're largely setting up for the Drake that's going to be spawning in a minute's time. Ooh, going to force the flash out from Nemesis there, so good spot from Dreams with the boots of mobility. Roaming around with his jungler, looking for potential picks. Nemesis has received a lot of the early game aggression, and while he's been able to stave off a lot of the pressure, he does of course have 1 death, so gold pretty much dead even. Odoamne looking to trade this tower, and things are kind of all revolving around this Drake that's going to be coming very, very soon, Medic.
There will be a Rift Hold relatively soon as well. We'll see if Schalke can pick it up this time if they decide to go for it. They put a few pings down on it. They're clearing out vision around that top side as well, so perhaps second time will be the charm for them. Bwipo jumps in here. Odo's going to use the clone to get away. Dreams is coming in for the chase as well. Doesn't have the ult, but has the Zenith Blade. Bwipo has to flash to get away from that one. Yeah,
but the problem for Schalke here is that they actually invested their ultimate from Odoamne. So he doesn't have that available. We noticed that Abbedagge is also reset to be ready for the upcoming Drake fight, completing the Protobell and upgrading his boots and getting the Seeker's Arm Guard as well. But this has given Fnatic control over the mid wave, which then in turn gives them control over the bot river. So I don't know if Schalke is even going to be in a position to contest this 3rd Drake. They're actually just going to handshake it seems like, and trade it for the Rift Child, which maybe is more valuable because they want to utilize it to actually break open the mid-tier 1, but just setting up Fnatic to have that 4 Drake win condition, a very early potential Elder Drake. And that's a dangerous situation to put yourself in.
I totally agree with you, and I think it's really interesting because it kind of loops back into our itemization discussion we were having, where Schalke will be their strongest when they hit that double Trinity Force, right? And they're just short of it right now. Odoamne has got Phage and the Sheen finish. There's just a Sheen on Neon. So maybe Schalke are saying, okay, we let them have this one because we know in 5 minutes time we will have double Trinity Force, we'll have our full power, and at that point we will have to take the fight. Now, you put yourself in a bit of a hole because you're forcing yourself to fight in 5 minutes, and if you make a mistake there, you kind of just lose the game. But I like the idea of saying we don't want to fight right now, but we are going to make ourselves fight in 5 minutes.
Well, I mean, the other thing is, by going for the Tiamat early, you delay the Trinity Force on the Wukong, and you can't really blame Neon for going for the Mana Mune, because you want to get that stacking as quickly as possible, but that's also going to delay the Trinity Force. So, as you rightly said, maybe they just weren't feeling super confident. Either way, I like this utilization of the Rift Herald. We've been talking a lot about it. Breaking this mid-tier 1 is difficult, and because Fnatic denied that first one from Schalke, they didn't have it. Now Schalke's looking for a fight.
Hylissang might be there before he can even get down. Here's the hero's entrance. He pops the stopwatch, but he's going to have to flash across the wall. Can't escape from the Cyclone as Neon takes him down. Rift Herald gets another charge in. Nemesis with the stun. Here comes Selfmade from across the wall, but he's going to get locked up once again by Odoamne. His Zenith Blade doesn't quite connect there from Dreams, and Selfmade had to flash away from the fight as well.
So Schalke, they secured themselves the mid-tier 1, they get themselves a kill, they got the Herald to actually connect with the tier 2 as well, and while I think a couple execution errors there could have actually made the fight even more favorable for Schalke, they still come out on top, and right now they're looking for more. This could be a bit greedy, Medic, as Hylissang is on his way back.
I think for the moment they are agreeing with you that it would have been a bit greedy. They decided not to do it. Abbedagge face plants into a wall with the proto belt, and I'm not quite sure what that was about, but it looked pretty cool.
Yeah, he's out of there. He's safe. He's good.
Let's have a look at this replay though, Vedius.
Resetting the cooldown. Let's have a look back at this replay, and you can see the engage comes out. The sidestep from Hylissang to try and avoid that collapse was good, and he's buying time for his team, but Rekkles is being zoned away by the ultimate. The TP comes through from the Syndra, but it's a little bit too late, so Nemesis can't really contribute to the fight. They're both getting zoned away by the Galio Q as well, and this actually splits Fnatic up, giving Odoamne access onto the backline. And again, Schalke don't get any additional kills. I think that flash from Dreams, he wasn't quite able to land anything off the back of it, but you can see the idea was, I want to follow up, I want to commit, I want to try and get involved, and unfortunately he wasn't able to do it. But if that Zenith Blade did land, I think Schalke could have got another kill.
I agree with you. It was very close to being a good play there from Dreams, and it's great to see him have a better performance after yesterday. He was not in the best of shapes on the Nautilus. I will bring to your attention, Vedius, that Neon has decided Iceborne Gauntlet is the pick here for the Ezreal instead of the Triforce. Gives you that little bit more tankiness. Trinity Force is complete on Odoamne, and Dreams is trying to get some vision in the red side jungle of Fnatic, who are 2,000 gold behind as we get towards this 20-minute mark, and they will want to fight over this next dragon, but they also don't have to take the fight. However, Nemesis might have the fight thrust upon him. The Seraph shield will not be enough as Dreams brings down the power of the sun, and Nemesis goes bye-bye.
Nemesis did not have his flash to get out of that situation. He was just trying to... He was playing pretty defensively there, Medic. He was near his tier 2, but the dive from Dreams and Abbedagge was just too strong. And Fnatic, they're actually using this as an opportunity to start the Baron off. They're taking a bit of a gamble here, immediately going to get spotted out.
I was like, that's one of those, I think I'll put, a euro on this. No, I'm not going to bet anymore. We're cool. Okay, you take the euro.
So,
we'll move on.
Medic, did you see that segment that I was talking about this morning, where teams sometimes fail to accelerate the game?
The Origin one, yeah, it was really cool.
Yeah. So this was actually a great example of where a team can actually accelerate the game, because you force Schalke to immediately respond to this. So if nothing else, Fnatic are saying, are you going to check this? Are you going to come and challenge us? What are you going to do? And immediately, the moment they see that the Baron started, Schalke go, whoa, okay, we got to stop that. And then Fnatic's like, okay, fine. So it's kind of like a handshake where you're basically saying okay, you're not going to propel any further. And if they don't respond, then of course Fnatic could actually sneak away a Baron there. So I think it's a pretty cool example of how a team can actually just put pressure on. It looks risky at first, but I don't think Fnatic's plan is ever, we want to rush down the Baron. It's very much a, let's see what Schalke do after we put them in this awkward and uncomfortable situation.
Yeah. And it also stops Schalke from being able to do anything anywhere else, because they have to come and answer the Baron. I really like that, Vedi. It's well explained. 20 seconds left on this Cloud Dragon, and we've seen Schalke set up around it. There's a ward behind Neon.
Get your voice ready, Medic. Here we go.
My voice is getting warmed up. We're going. The voice goes brrrr as the team fight goes down towards the Dragon pit. Fnatic gonna step forward here, trying to get some vision, but it's totally in control of Schalke right now. True Shot Barrage comes out as well, tags Nemesis and Selfmade. Hylissang's gonna push forward here, but it looks like they're just giving up the Dragon, and Vedius, you promised me so much, but instead Schalke will take the Dragon and Fnatic will get vision around Baron.
Yeah, so The thing is, for Fnatic, there was no mid-wave, so it looked like that they were trying to trade mid-tier 1 for Drake, but of course, with no wave, there was nothing to push, so instead they're trading it for vision on the top side of the map. Because Schalke have to catch that wave in mid, they can't really respond, but now they're going to cautiously move through their jungle, because there's always the risk that Fnatic could be there, and if our observers could just quickly toggle the vision difference. First, let's have a look at Fnatic. Oh yeah, this is also fine. You can see that Schalke don't feel too afraid, but look how much control Schalke have gotten over the top side. They've now reset. They have all of their vision ready to go in their inventory while also having all this vision. So this means that Fnatic is actually better set up for a potential Baron play over the next few minutes. So that's kind of what they gave up the Drake for, to have that control and future play towards the Baron.
Yeah, you've got all those deep wards as well, which give Bwipo perfect places to flank. Let's have a look at where we are in terms of items. You can see it looks like it's Liandry's on its way for Nemesis. Saras is complete. Ginsu's and Miura mana fully stacked for Rekkles. He's going up towards Nash's Tooth as well, so we'll be incredibly powerful on this Kai'Sa. You said how well she scales earlier on in the game. If she can survive through the burst that comes out of Schalke, that Kai'Sa is going to do a huge amount of work. On the other side, though, Blade of the Ruin King is on its way for Neon. Stopwatch is complete on Abbedagge, and it looks like the beginnings of a death dance for Odoamne. So there's a lot of damage for Schalke. They're in a really strong position right now, and they might have caught out Selfmade. Solar Flare dodged away from the slow, did connect there, and here comes Neon. Selfmade does have flash. She's going to try and get onto Neon, but Abbedagge is on the chase. The exhaust goes down, and goodbye, Selfmade. Gilius caught out here as he tries to get away. The disdain from Bwipo doesn't quite connect as he dashes forward. Odoamne coming in from the side of that flank position. Nemesis still has the scatter. The weak dream goes in. Bwipo, True Shot Barrage comes out. There's Odo. Hylissang uses the Dredge Light to try and get himself forward. The Death Charge is going to delay. Schalke stepping forward themselves. But now the chase is on and Bwipo's down. 3 kills to none in favor of Schalke.
And Medic, the hope is alive right now for Schalke. They could be looking to get their first win of the split by securing this Baron away from Fnatic. A crucial pick onto Selfmade has just broken this game wide open. Medic, I think this is Schalke's first Baron of the split, and this could very well be their first win if they keep finding these successful fights.
Just look at the scoreline at the top, Vedius. It is prophetic for Schalke, 1-9. Assuming they lose their next game if they win this one.
Almost, Medic.
It was close. I was so close. I couldn't let the opportunity miss.
Let's look at the replay. So you can see Selfmade. He's pretty out of position here. He's in an area of the map that he thinks he has some control over because of the double control wards. But Schalke's moving through the river because remember, Fnatic just reset. So this is Schalke's turn to actually control this area of the map and clear out some of this vision. So Selfmade ends up dying. Then we see Fnatic just kind of posturing back and forth, Gilius and Neon quite low. And then look at Hylissang here. He decides to go for the re-engage as he sees an opportunity to try and get a hook onto Neon. But then he just puts himself in a very dangerous position. Odoamne then acting as the front line alongside Abbedagge. And Schalke could just play this very easy front-to-back composition where Fnatic's damage just wasn't coming out, allowing Schalke to actually win the fight, win the Baron, and now they're sitting with a 5k gold lead.
Schalke in such a strong position right now. Blade of the Ruin King now complete on Neon. We've seen if Odoamne can get in flank position, he has so much disruption. Fnatic are still scaling. They do have the Death Stance, on its way for Bwipo. They have the Liandry's complete on Nemesis. All it takes is Nemesis chunking out Neon, and Fnatic win one of these fights any day of the week. But so far, Neon's positioning has been exceptional. And the follow-up from Schalke whenever a fight begins has been perfect. Hylissang looking for Odoamne. Oh, that's not how you want to use your ult there, Hylissang.
Wait, let's look at the map right now because Fnatic have committed 4 people towards the top side against the Baron buff, which means that Schalke
True Shot Barrage going to try and stop the backs as well.
Oh, that's a great
Eclipse Rekkles, Eclipse Hylissang. Okay, so only 2 people get back from Fnatic, and now Neon is pushing in here with Abbedagge down towards the bottom lane in the mid lane. Dreams is there as well with Gilius. This is going to be 2 inhibitors towers opened up. That True Shot Barrage was almost perfection from Neon.
I mean, it did the job, you know what I mean?
Did what they needed.
It opened up that bot inhibitor tower, and now they still have the Baron buff. Odoamne stacking up a wave on top, so Schalke just need to keep these waves pushed in, wait for Odoamne to join the crew, and then they're going to have 3 waves crashing into Fnatic's base. Things are starting to crumble for Fnatic right now, Medic, and Schalke, they have that win in their eyes. They're so close to end the first half of the split with a win is definitely the way you want to try and end it. And we can see now the wave stacking up. The wave top is crashing. Fnatic, it looks like that they actually have the right trying to counter the Wukong.
So Schalke in a bit of a tricky situation here because they don't have their waves synced as well as they would like, and there's a Cloud Drake up. So Gilius has to go back and get the Cloud Drake, which means Schalke would man down as they try and push in. And it means that they'll probably just wait out the rest of this Baron, try and get some chip damage in if they can, maybe try to chip away at this mid lane inhib, but they're not going to get too much more here.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head there, Medic. Recognizing that the Drake was up, Schalke were kind of scattered, their waves weren't aligned, and with the Baron buff now fading, I think Schalke is still going to be pretty happy with this. Like, let's have a quick look at the level difference. Neon is actually 2 levels up over Rekkles right now, which is a pretty big deal. Abbedagge also hitting level 16. Odoamne, I imagine, is going to get level 16 very soon as well, and that means that Schalke's primed and ready to fight. They just need to wait for the next Baron, and that's their opportunity to go for that 5 versus 5. And I think what we're seeing is Fnatic's comp kind of wants to do a few different things, because who dives with Rekkles, right? Bwipo and Nemesis. Yeah, Bwipo and Nemesis are kind of that front line, right? They want to try and just hit whoever's in front of them. But Rekkles wants to try and threaten that backline, and the problem for him is that he doesn't really have anyone to set him up for success, nor does he have any real follow-up.
Oh, Bwipo's been flanked.
Yes, he has.
He's totally been surrounded here. Abbedagge came in with the TP, and Bwipo, well, dodges out from the side of the solar flare, but he can't dodge from the auto attacks from that Ezreal. He's dead. And it doesn't get Schalke too much as there's no real objectives on the board for them, but it's another kill in their back pocket.
What is going on for Fnatic right now, Medic? Is,
they've got heroic entrance. I was like, this is way too greedy from Odoamne, but I mean, he won it out, even with the Void Rush coming out. Odoamne, there's a reason we always talk about this guy as a key player on Schalke, and he's showing us right there. What a great play.
That was a really good ultimate coming out from Abbedagge there to help turn the tides, and now Schalke, finding themselves 2 picks, will be able to secure themselves another tower. Look, 2 members of Fnatic sitting on the enemy blue buff right now, only just resetting. This should be the first inhibitor of the game going in favor of Schalke.
And we said a moment ago they were waiting for the next Baron. Well, they didn't even need to wait. Hylissang caught out once again. The Gargoyle Stoneplate's going to fall off. There's the Solar Flame. Nemesis has to flash away from it. True Shot Barrage coming in as well. Hylissang re-engages onto Gilius, trying to drag him under those Nexus turrets, but Schalke are able to limp away for the moment. Some ticking low health bars. Nemesis doesn't have the ult up. Barrier used by Abbedagge as he flashes away. The hook stopwatched by Abbedagge as well, but Neon is still very healthy here. He should be able to shepherd the rest of Schalke back out of this base. It's a 7,800 gold lead for Schalke. They are 11-1 up, and a team that has yet to win is going to take, well, it looks to take down our Spring Split finalists here, Vedius.
Schalke fans, that hope.
Yeah, from 3 minutes, it's grown. It's grown, Vedius.
I know, but I know it's fragile right now, because I know that Schalke have been in positions where sometimes they've thrown a lead, you know? This lead is quite a big one to throw, but they are in commanding position, or they are in a commanding position, rather, and it is very difficult for them to lose the game, but they need to stay focused. Now, they need that next Baron. That is how they win the game, and Fnatic know this. They've set up the classic Fnatic Death Brush. Schalke are posturing carefully as Fnatic look for a pick.
Here's the thing. Because Schalke have that control ward, they don't have to go anywhere near this river. They don't have to touch it. Odoamne is split pushing, he has TP. Let him get it in towards the inhibitor, and if Fnatic decide not to answer, it's exactly what we talked about earlier on.
This is really good, Medic, from Schalke, playing patient. You're right. They didn't take any gambles. They waited. They got information before they tried to push, and now they've reclaimed control around Baron. Good patient play there from Schalke. They're not going to fall for any sneaky tactics from Fnatic.
Okay, so there are a few wards up towards the top side of the Baron that I would love to see Schalke clear out. They do not have any oracles right now. They do have a control ward, so that's going to get 2 of them. But you can see, again, Schalke just being that a little bit more passive. They don't want to step up when they don't have the wave prio in top lane. They don't want to go too far forward and get caught out by Fnatic. As you say, Eddie, this is patient, methodical play from Schalke, and I am loving seeing it because...
They don't want to take too long, though. You know,
that's true, yeah.
You know, at the end of the day, you got to remember Abbedagge, level 17, has his death cap completed. Not the common itemization that you'll see 3rd for the Galio, but you know, I respect it. A little bit more damage coming out from the Galio, a little bit more back punch, you know? There's a phrase there that I've completely forgotten.
Bang his buck. Oh, Dreams engaging. They know Nemesis doesn't have flash. He used it under the Nexus towers before, and Dreams goes in. Neon's gonna get death charges here on the backline, but Gilius is on a killing spree, and Neon's still alive. Rekkles tries to dive in the exhaust, but here's the hero's entrance, and Rekkles has to cleanse the QSS and try and get out of there. But he's gonna be the last one standing as Rekkles versus the world. And I've said that so many times before, but Rekkles knows there is no way he gets out of this one. Like the bees, his team is about to go extinct here on Summoner's Rift as Schalke are looking for the win. Just the Nexus towers between them and that fragile hope we talked about 30 minutes ago, Vedius. Let it be known, you may beat Schalke 8 times, but no one beats Schalke Nullfear 9 times in a row.
Huge win for Schalke to end their first half of the